You know that feeling when you meet someone who's just so incredibly confident about a topic, but you know they're completely and utterly wrong? Or maybe you've been on the flip side, where you're actually an expert at something, but you secretly feel like a total fraud? Well, there's a name for this. And today we are breaking down the fascinating psychological quirk behind both of these feelings. It's called the Dunning-Kruger Effect. Let's get into it.
So let me ask you a question, and I want you to be honest with yourself. Are you really as good as you think you are? It's a tricky question, right? Because the answer gets to the very heart of self-awareness, and it's exactly what we're going to unpack today. And here's how we're going to do it. First, we'll get a clear definition of what this effect actually is. Then, we'll look at the two kind of surprising sides of this bias. We'll dig into why it happens, clear up some common mistakes people make when talking about it, and finally, we'll get into some real, practical ways we can all get better at this. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Section 1. What exactly is the Dunning-Kruger effect? So, at its most basic level, the Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias. It's a predictable glitch in our thinking, where people who have low skill or knowledge in one particular area tend to, well, massively overestimate how good they are at it. But as you're about to see, that's only half the story. And this is where it gets really interesting. Moving into Section 2, you'll see this isn't just a story about overconfidence. This bias is a real two-sided coin. So on one side, you have people with less competence in a subject. They tend to overestimate their skill. Why? Because they actually lack the ability to even recognize their own mistakes. It creates what scientists call an illusion of superiority. But then, get this, on the other side, you have highly competent people, and they often do the exact opposite. They underestimate their own skills because they make the mistake of assuming that if something is easy for them, it must be easy for everybody. And this really highlights the two different worlds these groups live in. For the less competent, it's this illusion of superiority. They genuinely believe they're better than they are. But for the highly competent, it can look a lot like imposter syndrome. You know, that nagging feeling that you're a fake and your skills aren't anything special, all because you incorrectly think everyone else can do what you do just as easily. So this all leads to the big question, right? Why? Why does our brain do this? Let's dive into the psychology behind it all in Section 3. The original researchers, Dunning and Kruger themselves, summed it up with this really powerful idea. They said that the incompetent suffer from a dual burden. And this is that dual burden. It's a 1-2 punch. First, they're simply not skilled in that particular thing. That's burden number one. But the second burden is the real kicker. They also lack the very skills needed to realize they're unskilled. Think about it. It takes knowledge to judge knowledge, and if you don't have it, you can't see your own blind spots. There's actually a technical term for this key skill, metacognition. It literally means thinking about your own thinking. It's that internal manager that lets you step back, look at what you're doing, and go, maybe I messed that up, or I don't really understand this part. For people stuck in the Dunning-Kruger effect, that manager is, let's just say, asleep on the job in that one area.
Okay, this is a really important point we need to make before we go on. Let's move to Section 4, because we need to understand some crucial nuances. This is about a bias, not a flaw in someone's character. There are two things you absolutely have to remember. First, this is domain-specific. A Nobel Prize-winning physicist could absolutely experience the Dunning-Kruger effect when they try to bake a cake or learn guitar for the first time. Expertise doesn't transfer. Second, and this is huge, it's a bias, not a character flaw. It's not about being stupid or arrogant. It's a systematic error in thinking that affects, well, all of us. It's part of being human. So if this affects everyone, what are we supposed to do? Are we just stuck? Absolutely not. The good news is we can fight back. So for our last section, let's talk about some real, actionable steps to build better self-awareness. It really boils down to three things. First, and this can be tough, seek out external feedback. Go to people who know what they're doing and ask for their honest, even critical opinion. Second, never stop learning. The more you learn about a subject, the more you begin to appreciate its complexity, which is a natural cure for overconfidence. And finally, practice self-reflection. Really try to look at your performance objectively. Don't just go by how you felt you did, but look at the actual results. So, to wrap this all up, I want to leave you with a little challenge. We are all beginners at something. So what's one area in your life, could be at work, could be a hobby, where you will commit to seeking some truly honest feedback this week? Because just asking that question, that's the first step to seeing yourself
just a little more clearly.